Sound Speeds, and welcome back to the Sound Speeds podcast, a member of the Geeks Rising podcast community. As of next week's episode, I will have crossed over the threshold into the 8-year mark of this YouTube channel releasing weekly content. So this is the last episode in the 7th year of me releasing weekly content on this YouTube channel. That's a long time. At least it seems like it. You know, when you're doing weekly content, it seems like a long time. So let's waste no more time and get right into our content this week. For this episode, I thought we would tell a couple of funny stories. Now, the first one I'm going to be telling happens to do with a movie that I did maybe 12 to 14 years ago, something like that. Don't know the exact time. But it was a movie that was produced by a company that released family movies. They just wanted to release family movies. And in doing so, sometimes they made decisions that were a little bit weird. Now, to give it a little bit of perspective here, this particular studio, they didn't want to have any adult themes. They didn't want it to be an overcomplicated plot. They wanted it to be fun. They wanted it to be family oriented, that little children could watch it, adults could watch it, and have a kind of a feel-good feeling when you're watching it. But they made a couple of weird decisions, and we were all talking about this on set. It was very... Let me just set it up for you, okay? Now, this is an oversimplification, but imagine that there is a, person, probably a man, a single man, never been married, in his maybe 50s, 60s, and he decides he's going to throw a party for the people that just joined this new college. Now, he has a mansion. He's very well off, and he sponsors events at this particular college, and he invites all these kids over to his pool party. The studio did not want there to be a bunch of girls going around in bathing suits and stuff, because they felt that that would be very, very, it would just, it might make it too sexy. So instead, they put a whole bunch of boys in the pool, and all the girls were fully clothed, wearing long sleeves and jeans on the outside of the pool, standing around talking in like the least pool-oriented clothing ever. But in the meantime, there's all these boys in the pool that aren't even being boy-like in their behavior. They're throwing the beach ball back and forth. Just, it is, we got some shots of them, playing with the beach ball with each other. But in the studio's attempt to make this not creepy and not sexy, they went completely the opposite direction and made it so very creepy when you think about the thing that actually just happened. It's like, okay, so this man in his 60s decides he's going to throw a pool party, and all the girls are completely outside, fully clothed, and all the boys are playing with a beach ball in the pool. It was very weird when you're there, I guess. I don't know if it conveys as well in this story, but if you can imagine that kind of a thing, that was the studio. And we were kind of pointing out to some of the ADs and the directors and the director, and we're like, is there not a need to have there be a balance in the pool? No, the studio does not want there to be any girls in the pool. Okay. For the second story, this involves a TV pilot I worked on maybe about the same time frame. And the director of photography was extremely experienced. He knew his craft very well. All you had to do was just tell him, show him a rehearsal, give him an idea what you wanted to do, and he would come up with a brilliant solution. The director was not nearly as experienced. Now, people have widely said for years that a director can be an entry-level position, and I've worked on those shows too, where the director has no idea what in the world they're doing. The first AD is like trying to kind of educate them and teach them through the production as to how to actually direct. But in this particular case, the director was at least somewhat experienced. But their way of conveying some shots to the DP was hilarious. And the DP was about to lose his mind with this director a few times. And it was funny because the director would say, this is the shot. And the DP would go over and be like, all right, so we're going to do this. No. That's not it. I thought that's what you just explained. No. It's got to be this instead. Isn't that what I just said? No, it's because of this. And there was just always a breakdown in communication. And so this DP was completely stressed out this like third or fourth day of the show. And I'm sitting at catering, just, eating like a bacon sandwich, just like this big. And the DP sits down at the table with me and just starts talking. He's like, you know what? I am not going to let the director get to me today. I was thinking about it last night. I'm not going to let it happen anymore. He's like, if he wants to tell me what his thoughts and ideas are, that's fine. And we're just going to do them. But I'm not going to stress out over any of the things he says anymore. So that's just not going to happen. And we're like, okay, sounds good. We're in. Rehearsal's up. And we watched the rehearsal. And it's a very, very short scene. There's someone laying in a hospital bed, and the camera kind of tracks in with somebody who walks in and then looks at them. But the camera isn't just going to pan over. The person that walks in is going to do this number. And then the director wants the camera to tilt straight upside down and look basically back down on the person who's laying in bed. So the DP says, okay, so we're going to basically, track the person in this way and then just tilt straight up all the way back until we see the person in the bed. So obviously the person in the bed's going to be upside down. It's like, and the director's like, no, he's not going to be upside down. He'll be right side up. And the DP is like, okay, so we're going to do this number and kind of do a half twist in the air in order to come down on him. Director's like, no, can't do that. And he said, all right, so we're going to split this up. We're going to go up like this, and then we're going to do a separate shot coming down, and you're going to do a dissolve in post. He's like, no, of course not. No, what we have to do is we're going to go like this, and we're going to go straight up all the way backwards and pan or tilt all the way back until we see the person in the bed. And the DP is like, yes, but the person's going to be, the person in the bed's going to be upside down. He's like, no, it's not. What do you mean he's not going to be? He's got to be upside down if you do a tilt upwards this direction and we don't rotate in the air. We don't dissolve it in post. How in the world are we going to be able to do this? And he's like, you're not understanding. He's like, okay, explain it to me. He's like, all right, we're going to bring the guy in here and then we're going to tilt. As soon as he throws his look at the person in the bed, we're going to tilt straight up 180 degrees onto the person in the bed behind. And the DP is like nodding this entire time. Yes, I understand. And he's like, all right, so we're going to be upright with him this way. Camera tilts. And then we're going to be upright on the person in the bed. Yes. How do we get there? Well, we're going to tilt. No. How are we going to rotate from here to going down on the person in the bed? He's like, it's a tilt. And, the DP was about to lose his mind again, trying to just not stress. It didn't even take 10 minutes into the first scene of the day before the DP was about to pull his hair out yet again. It was completely awesome. I said I was going to tell you 2 stories. I'm going to tell you one more because third time's the charm. Okay, this was a funny thing that happened, and I'm going to say the name of the show because it would be very obvious in context otherwise. This is the first show that we did coming back from the COVID shutdown. It was Black Lightning, Warner Brothers, season 4. And this particular occasion, if you lived through the COVID era, which anybody who's watching this video probably did, then you will know that we all wore masks. Everyone was very nervous about the viral spread and stuff like that, especially in the early days when people were returning to work. And I was on set. I watched the rehearsal. We were allowed to step away from everybody and take a sip of water, and then we would go back to set. That was what we were allowed to do, but we weren't allowed to be there on set and to, unscrew the top of the water, stick it under the mask, and then do that. We weren't allowed to do that there. We had to go off the set. I accidentally I was trying to be quick and I was trying to be very, very, candid about this. So I stepped off a set into like this waiting room because we were on like a hospital type scene, not the same hospital set as the previous story. That's like a decade apart. But anyway, so I stepped into this little hospital waiting area and took a quick sip of water, accidentally breathing it in. So of course, what happens when you breathe in water? You start a coughing fit. I was trying not to do that though. I was trying to trying to downplay it and not have it be a complete coughing fit. But in trying to repress it, it wasn't going to happen. So I put the mask back on, screwed the top of the water bottle back on, and I started walking to try to leave and get off set because I wanted to try to get away from the casting crew. But as I was walking kind of through this one little area, I started to cough. And as soon as I started to cough, you would swear this is Moses parting the Red Sea. Everybody scattered and went running for their lives because they were like, oh no, COVID has now come. I mean, and I was just, coughing because I had breathed in water, but everybody was just so high alert because this is the week after we returned. So it was the second or third day we had on set again. So everybody was high alert anyway. And of course this happened. So I'm coughing up a storm, because I inhaled water and, that was funny. I mean, I don't blame anybody. It could have been any show when this happened and people would react the same way. It just happened to be on a show that I really enjoyed working on. That was a lot of fun. And the cast and crew was great. Just love that show. But anyway, that was it was season 3 with before the COVID era, and then season 4 during the COVID era. I could make an entire episode about all the different shows and that I worked on during the COVID era and how each show was different, stuff like that. I'm not going to go there in this particular episode. I just wanted to tell that story. So there you have it. 3 fun little stories to finish out the 7th year of releasing weekly content here on SoundSpeeds. And remember, SoundSpeeds is a member of the Geeks Rising podcast community. And if you're interested in seeing what other podcasts are a part of the Geeks Rising community, go to geeksrising.com. Thanks for watching this episode of the SoundSpeeds podcast.